Where will Justin Fields play in 2024? That's the topic we're going to talk about right here on NFL Daily by Chat Sports. We appreciate you hanging out with us. I'm your host, Jace Andrews, and Justin Fields, well, he was the talk of the town at the NFL Combine with a bunch of people saying he could go here, he could go there. We're going to tell you where I think he could end up in the three teams that emerged as favorites during this past week in the NFL Combine. But if you're excited to see where Justin Fields will end up in 2024, do me a favor, go down there and like that video because this has been the ongoing saga for pretty much the entire offseason since we've started. Where will JF1 go? We find out in the next couple weeks potentially. All right, let's get into the latest here on Justin Fields. Now, obviously the NFL Combine is almost done, but it was honestly a big portion of the talk with both Ryan Poles weighing in on it and a couple of the other GMs who were talking and discussing how exactly Justin Fields will work in 2024, where he will go, how a trade will work, and what he is exactly worth. Well, here's the good news. We kind of got some teams that emerged as favorites in the way that they could potentially trade for Justin Fields and give up what they had. So we're going to talk about those three teams, but I'm telling you, they're interesting in a lot of different facets because they all have an opportunity to try and bring in a quarterback that is fit for them. But will it work? Well, here we go. The Atlanta Falcons, the Steelers, and the Raiders are the top three that we see landing JF1 in 2024 right now. Now, how exactly do these work? Which one of these fits best? Which one of these is the favorite? Well, that's what we're going to talk about. Now, all these teams do have problems at QB. Talk about the Atlanta Falcons, Desmond Ridder, Taylor Heineke. Both of them didn't really pan out this past year. You go to Kenny Pickett and Pittsburgh. Yeah, Mason Rudolph won more playoff games than he did, it seems like, and they didn't win any. So there you go. And on top of which, you look over at the Las Vegas Raiders and you have Aiden O'Connell, who was not supposed to be a starting quarterback, was never supposed to be that. He was not drafted to be that. In fact, he went after her. So you see here now who is going to play quarterback for them. Well, it could be Justin Fields. Now, I do want to kind of take one team out of here because we got a report this morning actually talking about Kirk Cousins and saying that the Atlanta Falcons actually preferred him over Justin Fields as their QB in 2024. Why? Well, they want the veteran presence. Now, they talked about this on a radio show in Atlanta. Here's what they had to say. This was Zach Klein of WBS. Everybody I've talked to says the logical thing is for them, they want to go a veteran move. All eyes, all arrows, everything points toward Kirk Cousins. Arthur Blank has basically told his front office that do what you've got to do, pay whatever you've got to pay, get it done. So everybody I've talked to, agents, other coaches and scouts, guys around the league, that's the feeling they are saying. What they are hearing is that the Falcons will put all their attention on Kirk Cousins moving forward. Now, this doesn't exactly mean that they are out on JF1. I don't think that is what we're going to take away from this. I just think they prefer Kirk Cousins over Justin Fields because of the veteran presence he brings, which is kind of fair. Given that the Falcons are pretty much a bunch of young guys, it would make sense to try and put in a veteran quarterback into that system and see if that could work out rather than maybe taking a risk on a guy who has always looked good but never got the wins to have the, backtrack with him. Where will Justin Fields end up, though? Well, that's the question I want to ask you right now. There's four teams that I think he could play with. Let me know what you think is the best option. Will he play with the Falcons in 2024? Will he play with the Raiders in 2024, the Steelers, or the Bears? F for Falcons, R for Raiders, S for Steelers, B for Bears. Let me know who you think where Justin Fields will go. All right, coming up, we're going to talk about why I think the Steelers may be the best fit for Justin Fields and why they have basically emerged as the number one contender in this whole trade saga. We'll talk about that in just a minute. But for now, got to tell you about one of our amazing sponsors, Prize Picks. You can get a $100 deposit match by going to prizepicks.com/CLNS and using the code CLNS. Now, football season may be over, but the action on the floor is heating up. Whether it's tournament season or the fight for playoff home court, there's no shortage of high-stakes basketball moments this time of year. Get in on the excitement with Prize Picks, America's #1 fantasy sports app. You can turn your hoops knowledge into cash. Check it out at prizepicks.com/CLNS and using the code CLNS, you're going to get a first deposit match of up to $100. Now, obviously, you're wanting to continue on the NFL. Well, guess what? They have 40-yard dash times you can go more or less on. Here's all the quarterbacks you can put in there and do more or less on their 40-yard dash time. Put a couple of those in. You can go and look at J.J. McCarthy. They've got Bo Nix. They've got even some of the top quarterbacks, Spencer Rattler, Michael Penix up there. Go check it out. There's a lot of cool NFL combine stuff, and that hasn't happened just yet. So you can go get them in at the last second before it ends. Now, Prize Picks is super amazing because they are quick withdrawals. They have easy gameplay. They have enormous selection of players and stat types, and that is exactly why they are the #1 daily fantasy sports app. Once again, go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and using the code CLNS, you're going to get that first deposit match of up to $100. The link will be in the comments and the description of this video. Shout out to Prize Picks. It's daily fantasy sports made easy. All right, why JF1 to Pittsburgh makes sense. First of all, Kenny Pickett was not only injured last year, but he played terrible. When he was on the field, he was not good. He looked terrible, and overall, it just did not work out. Now, Arthur Smith is the new Steelers offensive coordinator, and he's worked with mobile QBs in his tenure in the NFL, and he's honestly worked out well. The Steelers also have assets to trade for Justin Fields, and they feel as though they're just missing a quarterback. You think about the players they have on their team. T.J. Watt. They've got a good wide receiver core. You talk about Najee Harris, who had a quietly very, very good year. All they feel that they need is just a quarterback. Well, guess what? Justin Fields fits that really, really well. He played very well this past season, had a 61.4 completion percentage, 2,000 yards. Obviously, the touchdown-interception ratio isn't amazing, but the Steelers looked like they could be in prime position to take them, which is funny because, well, we got to ask Omar Khan at the NFL Combine about this. He said this: "I'm not going to go into details about the conversations we've had, but as I mentioned earlier, I can tell you that I have an obligation to look at every avenue to make us a better football team." I don't know about you, but that seems like they want a QB. And he actually followed up with it saying that obtaining a QB is on the table. Now, whether that's through the NFL draft, whether that's through trading for Justin Fields, there's a lot of different facets that you could get into that. But I think it's the right mindset because the Steelers last year, they realized Kenny Pickett was not it, and I don't think he's ever going to be it. Even though Kenny Pickett played a little bit, about the same amount as Justin Fields, we can kind of compare their stats here, and Justin Fields was wildly better, even though on a worse team, at least in record-wise. Completion percentage, just a little bit in favor of Kenny Pickett. The yards, way better for Justin Fields, who had just one more game. The average, better for Justin Fields. The touchdowns had 10 more, and obviously the TD interception ratio, well, Kenny Pickett had 6 touchdowns to 4 interceptions. That's not exactly the greatest thing you're going to look for. So I ask you, you're the Pittsburgh Steelers right now. Should they make a strong push for Justin Fields? Or do you think there's other options out there that would be better for them? Type Y for yes if you're making a strong push for them. Type in for no if you are not going to make a strong push for Justin Fields. Let us know down in the comments section. I'm curious to see what y'all think. Obviously, we've talked this whole show about Justin Fields being traded, but what would a trade exactly look like? Well, the Bears have kind of come out and said, yeah, we're not going to expect a first-round pick, but a second-round pick is probably what we're going to be looking for, and we feel that we can get that. The Athletic actually had a bit of a poll in talking about the value of Justin Fields. Here's what it was. The majority opinion is the Bears would corral a second or third round pick, but there was some variation in those responses. One executive said he'd be worth a second rounder or its equivalent value in a package of a third and fifth round pick. 2 other executives thought the return would be a second or third rounder, depending where the selection is in the round. Others believed it could be a 2025 third round pick that would become a second rounder based on certain statistical benchmarks. So, given the Steelers are the top one, here's what I think a trade would look like. The Bears would get back a second round pick. That would be the Steelers this year, number 51 overall. And the Steelers would get Justin Fields. I don't know if this would be enough, or maybe the Steelers think it's too much, because honestly, there's never been a time in Justin Fields' career where he has looked like a winning quarterback. He's looked like a good quarterback, but never a winning one. So, would you take this? I think that's the next question we have to ask. Is this a trade that you're going to take on either side? Type T for trade if you're taking it. Type P for pass if you're saying, no way, I'm not making this trade. No way that Justin Fields is worth a second rounder. Or, hey, maybe you're a Steelers fan saying, I don't want Justin Fields for that much. Let me know down in the comment section. Type T for trade. Type P for pass. Justin Fields was not the only news, though, that we got at the NFL Combine. Alexander Mattison was recently released by the Minnesota Vikings, and now a starting running back, at least at the start of the year, is on the market. And Mattison he didn't live up to expectations this past year. He had only 700 yards, 180 carries, 3.9 average, lost his starting nod a couple times throughout the year, and it was easy to see that Mattison just never exactly filled the role that was left by Dalvin Cook. Now, Mattison, I still believe, has a lot of prowess and could potentially be a potential starting running back in the National Football League. Well, two teams have emerged as favorites to land the NFC North running back, and they're both in Texas. Houston Texans, Dallas Cowboys. They've emerged the top two guys. Could potentially need those running backs. Obviously, Tony Pollard. They're not going to use the franchise tag on him. They could use an extra running back. Lots of stuff going on in Houston with that. So I think there's a potential here for both these teams to kind of maybe pony up and go get Mattison, help their running back room. He's not going to be, I guess, the starter, but at the same time, you could have him as a depth option. Make sure you're giving us a like, obviously. A big video about Justin Fields, and we're going to have you covered when and where he gets traded, all right here on Chat Sports NFL Daily. We appreciate you as always, and for now, peace out.